Rainie Collins didn't expect to be wearing heels and a name tag tonight, especially not one that read Event Host Welcome Team. But when her cousin called from a bathroom stall 2 hours ago whispering she had stomach flu, Rainie knew she couldn't let her down, not when this reception was for the most high-profile guests the resort had ever hosted. "This is temporary," Rainie muttered to herself as she adjusted the stiff blazer over her simple black dress. "Smile, hand them champagne, and don't trip." The Grand Tresor Resort glowed like a diamond on the edge of the Pacific, all lit up palm trees and soft jazz floating through the ocean breeze. The private reception was invitation only, a curated welcome for the elite guests of the resort's luxury villa program. Rainie had only ever passed through this part of the resort on her way to the staff shuttle. She worked in guest relations, mostly answering phones and coordinating excursions. She wasn't supposed to be here, not among the designer suits and glittering cocktail dresses, not serving champagne to millionaires. But tonight she was. She moved through the crowd with a practiced smile and a full tray, trying not to gawk at the live string quartet or the ice sculpture shaped like a crest she didn't recognize. The guests were polite, barely giving her a second glance as they accepted their drinks until her tray was nearly empty, and she turned toward the balcony and locked eyes with the only man in the room not pretending to be interested in the music. He stood alone, tall, sharp-jawed, dark suit perfectly fitted like it was custom-made. There was something about him, something not just expensive but deeply confident. His gaze didn't just land on her, it pinned her. Rainie looked away quickly and moved to the next guest. "But then, excuse me," a deep voice said behind her. She turned, and there he was. Up close, he was even more striking. His eyes weren't brown or hazel, but some mix of both intense and unreadable. He held out his hand for the last flute on her tray. "I think you missed one." Rainie gave a polite laugh. "You don't look like you're missing anything." He grinned, and her stomach flipped. "Rainie, right?" he asked, nodding at her name tag. "Temporarily," she said. "I'm just filling in." He took the champagne but didn't walk away. "Shame." "You're the most interesting person here," she blinked. "You've been here 5 minutes." "Exactly." Rainie tried not to blush. "Well, enjoy the party." "I might," he said, watching her a second too long before walking away. She tried to brush it off, but as the night wore on, she kept catching him looking at her. He didn't mingle like the others. He didn't name drop or laugh too loud. He was quiet in a way that demanded attention. After the reception ended, Rainie slipped off her heels and headed to the back corridor to return her badge. She was rounding the corner when she nearly collided with him. "Sorry," she gasped. He steadied her with a hand on her arm. "You're done for the night?" "Yeah," she said, trying to sound casual. "Back to my real job tomorrow." He tilted his head. "And what job is that?" "Guest services. I answer phones, book snorkeling tours. Nothing as glamorous as handing out drinks to millionaires." His lips curved. "You think I'm a millionaire?" "I think you're dressed like your suit costs more than my rent." That made him laugh, and it was rich and warm. "Fair." He extended his hand. "Grayson Adler." Rainie hesitated before shaking it. His grip was strong, confident. "Rainie Collins." He held her hand a beat too long. "You busy tomorrow after your shift?" he asked. She blinked. "Why?" "Have dinner with me." Rainie stared at him. "You're serious?" "Very." She hesitated. "You don't even know me." "I know enough," he said. "You're sharp. You don't belong in that uniform, and I haven't stopped thinking about you all night." Her heart thudded. "You're a hotel guest, and you're not a regular hostess. Let's pretend it's neutral ground." She should have said no. It was insane. He was a guest, clearly rich, clearly dangerous for her peace of mind, but something in his voice, something in his eyes made her pulse race. "Okay," she said. "Dinner." The next evening, Rainie showed up outside the private restaurant on the upper cliffside. The hostess blinked when she gave her name and immediately led her to a table already set for two on a private terrace overlooking the ocean. Grayson was waiting, wearing a deep navy shirt open at the collar, sleeves rolled up, a glass of wine in his hand. He stood when he saw her. "Wow," he said. Rainie had kept its simple black dress, minimal makeup, but the way he looked at her made her feel beautiful anyway. "You sure this is allowed?" she asked, sitting down. "I'm not breaking rules," he said, "just bending them." They talked for hours. About music, about traveling, about how she'd grown up in a small town outside San Diego and never thought she'd end up working at a resort like this. He didn't talk much about himself, but he listened, really listened. And when she laughed, he watched her like it was the only sound worth hearing. When the check quietly arrived, she reached for her bag out of habit. He just looked at her. "Rainie," she paused. "I invited you," he said. "Let me take care of this," she let him, but when they stood, he handed her a small box. "What's this?" she asked, stunned. He shrugged. "A thank you." For saying yes. Inside was a delicate gold bracelet, elegant, understated, her initials engraved on the clasp. She stared at him. "Grayson, this is too much. It's not enough." She didn't know what to say. His gaze was serious now. "I don't do this," he said. "I don't chase people." "But there's something about you, Rainie," she swallowed. "You don't even know my middle name." "Then tell me," he said. "I want to know everything." She should have pulled back. She should have reminded herself that this was temporary. But instead, she let him walk her down the cliff path, his hand at the small of her back, the stars above them, the waves crashing far below. And when he kissed her goodnight, slow and certain, her heart didn't just race. It leapt. Rainie didn't see Grayson for the next 3 days. She kept her head down at the guest services desk, answering calls, booking boat tours, and trying not to think about a man who had made her heart stutter with a single kiss. It had been just one dinner, one night, but it had cracked something open, something she couldn't close again. Every time the glass lobby doors whispered open, she looked up just in case, but it was always someone else. A family arguing over paddle boards, a honeymoon couple asking for champagne. Never him. By the 4th morning, she told herself it didn't matter. Maybe he'd left. Maybe it had been a game to him, a resort fling with a girl who didn't belong in his world. She'd known better than to believe it could mean more. "Rainie," her manager called, waving a clipboard from across the front desk. "You're needed in the East Villa wing, guest issue with a private itinerary. Take your radio." Rainie grabbed her headset and headed out, glad for the distraction. The East Villas were the most secluded part of the resort: private pools, personal chefs, the kind of accommodations that came with 5-figure price tags. She rarely had reason to step foot near them. She reached Villa 8 and knocked. The door opened and her breath caught Grayson. He leaned against the frame, barefoot, sleeves rolled halfway up his forearms, a phone still pressed to his ear. His eyes flicked over her, unreadable, then he said into the phone, "I'll call you back." He ended the call and lowered the phone slowly. "You work fast," he said. "I was assigned," Rainie replied, keeping her voice steady. "You had a scheduling concern." He stepped aside, letting her in without answering. The villa was quiet, open, the air faintly scented with citrus and sea salt. Rainie barely registered the infinity pool beyond the glass walls or the tray of untouched breakfast on the table. "So you've been avoiding me," he said, folding his arms. "I've been working." "That's not an answer." "I didn't realize I owed you one." His jaw tightened. "I thought we had a connection." "You think a few compliments and a bracelet make that real?" Grayson walked closer, voice low. "No. But the way you looked at me when I kissed you, that felt real." Rainie looked away. "You're a guest. I'm staff. This isn't a Nicholas Sparks movie." He nodded once, slow, then walked past her to the table and picked up a leather folder. "This isn't about rules, it's about fear." She stiffened. "Excuse me. You're scared that if you let this be something, you'll matter, and if you matter, I could hurt you." She crossed her arms. "I didn't come here for a therapy session." "No," he said, holding out the folder. "You came because I told them I needed help with my itinerary." Rainie took it warily and opened it. Inside, every page was blank except for one. "Dinner reservation, 2 people, Sunrise Terrace this evening." "You made me walk across the entire property for a dinner request. I needed to see you." She shut the folder calmly and handed it back. "You could have called the desk." "I tried. You kept transferring me to other agents." Rainie blinked. "That was you." He took a step closer. I don't play games, Rainie, but I'm also not about to chase someone who refuses to meet me halfway. She hesitated, unsure if she was angry or flattered or both. I don't know what you want from me. I want to see where this goes. No games, no pressure, just time. She looked up at him. Fine. One dinner, but I'm not dressing up and I'm not accepting any more gifts. He stepped back, hands raised. No bracelet, no tux, just dinner. That evening, she found herself on the terrace again, but this time at a different table, overlooking the cliffs where the sun had just begun to dip. The breeze carried the scent of grilled rosemary and citrus, and the table was set with only 2 plates, no centerpieces, no servers, no fanfare. Grayson was already there, seated casually, sleeves rolled up again, collar open. He looked at her as if he'd been waiting longer than he'd admit. "You made it," he said. "I said I would." She sat across from him, and for a moment neither of them spoke. The silence wasn't uncomfortable, it was charged, like the space between lightning and thunder. "You didn't tell me what you do," Rainie said, breaking the silence. "I own things," he said simply. "That's vague. I like privacy." She raised an eyebrow. "That's convenient." "I'm not hiding something if that's what you're thinking." He paused. "I run a private investment group. We buy distressed properties, flip international holdings, and sometimes partner with luxury brands. So you're a corporate shark." "I prefer the term opportunist," she laughed, surprising herself. "Tell me something real," she said. Grayson leaned forward. "I used to think love was a weakness. That needing someone meant losing control. And now I wonder if being alone is worse." Rainie swallowed. "You don't strike me as lonely. I'm brilliant at pretending." The food arrived: simple grilled fish, roasted vegetables, nothing extravagant. They ate slowly, talking about places they'd never been and things they'd never admitted to anyone else. When she told him about the scholarship she gave up to stay close to her father when he got sick, he listened without interrupting. By the time the plates were cleared, the sky had turned indigo, stars just beginning to show. "Why did you really ask me to dinner again?" she asked quietly. Grayson stood and walked to the railing, resting his hands on the edge. "Because you challenge me. And because I don't want to leave this place without knowing what it means to feel something again." She joined him, the ocean stretching endlessly below. "I'm not a risk-free investment," she said. "Good," he said. "The safe ones are always the most boring." She turned to him. "And what happens when you leave?" "I don't know," he said. "But I don't want to make that decision yet, do you?" Rainie shook her head slowly. "No," he brushed a strand of hair from her cheek, the gesture gentle, almost reverent. "Then let's not waste another night pretending this isn't happening." And when he kissed her again, it was deeper than the first. Not tentative, not testing, it was a promise. Rainie leaned against the wooden railing of the cliffside terrace as the ocean murmured in the distance, and the last flicker of candlelight danced between her and Grayson. He hadn't touched her again since the kiss, and oddly, she was grateful. It gave her space to breathe, to think, to feel the way her chest was tightening with something she couldn't name yet. "I'm flying out to San Francisco tomorrow," Grayson said quietly, eyes still on the horizon. "Just for 2 days, meetings." Rainie folded her arms. "Business?" He nodded. "Always." She studied his profile, the way the wind tugged at a strand of his hair, the way he seemed almost reluctant to leave. "You could have just told me goodbye." "I could have." He turned to her. "But I didn't want to." Rainie didn't answer right away. Her stomach twisted, not with nerves this time, but with an ache she hadn't expected to feel so soon. "I should go," she said finally. "It's late." He didn't argue. He just walked her down the garden path to where the cobbled stones met the main resort walkway. No kiss this time. Just a lingering silence and eyes that didn't look away until she was gone. The next morning, the routine resumed. Rainie returned to the guest services desk before sunrise, her mind sharper than her body. She poured herself into her work, coordinating a wedding proposal at the Waterfall Suites, and arranging a last-minute helicopter tour for a pushy couple from Manhattan. She didn't allow herself to think about Grayson's absence until she passed by the villa wing and saw a black SUV leaving through the private gate. By the time her shift ended, She was exhausted, but not from the job. It was the weight of wondering what would happen when he came back. Would he even come back 2 nights later, she found out. She was walking past the staff entrance to the back patio when she heard her name, Rainie. She turned and Grayson was there, stepping out of the shadows like he'd never left, but there was something different in his eyes. Not uncertainty, something heavier. "I didn't think you'd be back this soon," she said, trying not to sound thrown. "I cut the trip short," she blinked. "Why?" "Because the last 48 hours felt like I was missing something and it wasn't a deal." Rainie stared at him, heart hammering. "I don't want to play this like a vacation fling," he added. "I don't want to wait until I'm boarding another flight to figure out if this is real." She took a step back. "Grayson, I know, you're thinking we barely know each other. That this is crazy? It is. But that doesn't make it wrong," she hesitated. "You're still a guest here, I'm still staff." "I've already extended my stay, Rainie. I'm not going anywhere." Her breath caught in her throat. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I don't want someone else to come along and realize what I already know," she swallowed. "Which is?" "That you're not meant to be background in anyone's life." Rainie looked away. "You don't know what you're asking for." He stepped closer. "Then tell me." She didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned and started walking, not fast, just far enough to make him follow. She led him to the staff gardens behind the guest suites, where the noise of the resort faded into the hum of crickets and the rustle of palm leaves. "My mother left when I was 5, she said. Took her passport and disappeared. My dad worked 3 jobs to keep our house. When he got sick, I stayed. I didn't apply for grad school. I didn't leave the county." He didn't interrupt, didn't look away. "I've spent my entire adult life putting down roots I didn't choose," she continued. "And now you come along with your private jets and your blank dinner reservations and your bracelets, and I don't know how to fit you into the world I've built." "You don't have to fit me into it," Grayson said. "Maybe I belong outside of it," she turned to him. "That's not how life works." "It is if we want it to be," she shook her head. "You don't get it. If you wake up tomorrow and decide this was a distraction, I still have to be here. I still have to see your name on the guest roster and pretend none of it mattered." He was quiet for a long time, then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded paper. "Then maybe I should stop being a guest," she frowned. "What is that?" "I bought the old cliffside spa building. The one the resort's been trying to unload for years." Rainie's mouth parted. "Why?" "I'm converting it into a boutique wellness retreat, independent, separate from the resort, and I need someone to run the guest experience." Her breath caught. "You're offering me a job." "I'm offering you a partnership. Build it with me, make it yours." She stared at him. "You're insane." "Probably," he smiled faintly, "but I'm also serious. You don't even know if I'm qualified. I've watched you. You manage crises without blinking. You remember names, preferences, allergies. You make people feel seen. I don't need a resume to know you're better than anyone I could hire in a boardroom." She took the paper from his hand and stared at the building plans. It was real. He wasn't bluffing. "You're rewriting your life around me," she said softly. "No," he said. "I'm rewriting mine to include you." Her throat tightened. "This isn't how things happen, Grayson." "It is now." She looked at him, really looked at him. At the man who could have flown anywhere in the world but came back early just to see her. Who didn't throw his money around to impress, but used it like a net to catch something he didn't want to lose. She folded the paper and handed it back. "I need time. You've got it." He didn't try to kiss her. He didn't push. He just nodded once and walked away as if he trusted her to come to him when she was ready. Rainie stood there long after he left, her heart pounding against 100 reasons to run and 1 reason not to. Rainie stood outside the cliffside spa building, the ocean wind tossing her hair as she stared up at the weather-worn sign barely clinging to the frame. The place looked abandoned, cracked stone steps, boarded windows, a rusted gate, but her hand clutched the key Grayson had given her 2 days ago. He hadn't pressured her. After their last conversation, he'd gone quiet, no texts, no dinner invitations, no surprise appearances in garden walkways. Just the key, handed to her through the resort's internal mail with a note that simply said, "When you're ready." She hadn't told anyone, not even her cousin who'd finally recovered and was back to hosting events like she hadn't missed a beat. Rainie had kept this decision to herself, letting it settle like sand in water until the truth was clear. She was ready. Pushing open the door, she stepped inside. The air was stale, thick with dust and salt, but sunlight streamed through where the roof slanted toward the sea. A faded reception counter stood to one side, and beyond it, a wide room with arched windows that framed the ocean like a painting. She walked slowly through the space. Her fingers brushed old furniture covered in sheets, her mind already rearranging things where the treatment rooms would go. How to redesign the welcome area, what kind of scent would greet guests at the door. A voice behind her pulled her back. "You came." Grayson stood in the doorway, a folder in one hand, sunglasses hooked on the collar of his shirt. He looked calm, but the way he watched her made it clear he'd been waiting for this moment. "I needed to see it first," Rainie said, and she turned back to the room. "It's a mess." He stepped inside, his shoes crunching lightly on the sand that had blown in through the cracks. "It is, but it's also got good bones," she added, "and a view that makes your pulse stop." Grayson's expression shifted. "So do you." She shot him a look, but her lips tugged upward. "You're not going to stop saying things like that, are you? Not when they're true." She walked to the edge of the room where a sliding glass door led to a crumbling patio. He followed, stopping beside her as they looked out over the sea. "I can't afford to mess this up," Rainie said. "You won't. You don't know that." "I know you," Grayson said. "I've spent years building businesses that made billions, but this," he gestured around them, "this is the first one I've built with someone I trust more than my own instincts." Rainie turned to him. "Why me?" His gaze didn't waver. "Because I've had all the polished, Ivy League, boardroom-perfect types. They never made me feel like I could breathe. You do." She looked down at her hands. "I'm scared." "So am I," he admitted. "But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you." A long silence stretched between them. Then she reached out, took the folder from his hand, and opened it. Inside were architectural sketches, zoning forms, a project outline already in motion. Her name was listed as Director of Guest Experience. "You really did this," she whispered. "I wasn't bluffing." She closed the folder. "Then we're doing it together." Grayson's relief was subtle but profound. It showed in the way his shoulders dropped, in the way his breath seemed to finally release. "You'll stay on at the resort until we're ready," she nodded. "I'll give them notice next month." "I want to leave things right." "That's very you." She looked at him, and something in her chest settled. "So what now?" He stepped forward, careful, letting her decide if the space between them should close. She didn't stop him. "Now," he said, "I stop being your guest." Rainie laughed softly. "You really think we're going to make this work?" "I don't think," he said. "I know." Then he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small, square box. Rainie's eyes widened. "Grayson," he held up a hand. "It's not what you think." She narrowed her eyes. "If it's another bracelet, it's not." He opened the box to reveal a single brass key attached to a leather fob with the initials RC burned into it. "What is this?" "The first key to the new place. It's yours." Her throat tightened. "You made me a partner." "You didn't have to." "I did," he said. "Because I don't want to love someone who keeps thinking she has to earn her place. You're already there." Rainie took the key, her fingers closing around it like it was something precious. He hesitated, then added, "But for the record, I do love you." It landed like a jolt, but not unwelcome, not scary, just sudden and irreversible. She looked up at him, her voice catching. "You know I've never said that to anyone." "I don't need you to say it yet," he said. "I just need you to mean it when you do." She stared at him for a long moment, then leaned in. "You're going to be impossible to forget, aren't you?" "I hope so." She kissed him before he could respond, slow, certain, and full of promise. It wasn't a goodbye, it wasn't even a beginning. It was a continuation of something real. 3 months later, the grand opening of the Pacific Rise retreat brought a flood of press, influencers, and wellness lovers from all over the country. The once crumbling spa had been transformed into an elite escape, all white stone and glass. with meditation rooms overlooking the cliffs and experience suites designed with Rainie's exacting standards. She stood at the main entrance in a tailored navy jumpsuit, greeting guests as they arrived not as a staff member, but as co-creator. Her name was on the brochure, on the welcome signage, on the lips of every guest who praised the seamless check-in and thoughtful touches. And Grayson. He walked beside her, not ahead, not behind, equal. He didn't hover, didn't interfere. He trusted her to lead. That night, as the sun dipped below the ocean and the final guests toasted champagne on the rooftop garden, he pulled her aside into a quiet alcove lit by lanterns and jasmine vines. "You made this real," he said. "So did you." He looked at her, then really looked, and she knew he was about to ask something important, but she spoke first. "I love you." His breath caught, and he smiled, slow and certain. "Say it again." She did. He pulled her close, pressed his forehead to hers, and whispered, "Then come with me tomorrow. There's a plane waiting. You pick the destination. A week, just us. No laptops, no calls." She grinned. "Deal?" And when he kissed her, tangled in jasmine and starlight, she knew finally, fully, that she hadn't just fallen in love. She'd found something bigger. She'd found someone who saw her future and built it with her. The soft rustle of linen curtains stirred in the ocean breeze as Rainie stepped barefoot onto the balcony, her coffee warming her palms. The new morning cast golden light across the water, and down below, the Pacific Rise retreat stirred to life, quietly, chefs prepping breakfast, staff unlocking the wellness suites, the scent of eucalyptus and sea salt drifting upward. Behind her, Grayson emerged from the bed, tousled and shirtless, as he reached for his watch on the side table. He looked over at her, his gaze still heavy with sleep but landing on her with unmistakable ease. "You're up early," he said, voice low. "I couldn't sleep," she admitted. "I kept thinking about the Meteor review coming next week. If we miss the mark on their experience, it could cost us our full first-year projections." He crossed the room and leaned beside her on the balcony. "We won't. You sound confident. I've been watching the numbers. Bookings are doubling every week, and the waitlist for the winter season is already full. We're not just surviving, Rainie. We're leading." She didn't respond right away. Instead, she looked down at the retreat they'd built together. The yoga courtyard had been transformed with shaded canopies and hand-carved stone fountains. The saltwater plunge pools reflected the sky like mirrors. Guests moved through the property slowly, with a reverence she hadn't expected. It was working. "I never thought I'd run something like this," she said. "I always imagined I'd be helping someone else succeed." "You are," he said. "Me," she turned to him. "It's not just yours anymore." "No," he agreed. "It's ours. Every inch of it." Their hands found each other easily, fingers weaving together like they'd done it for years. There was no hesitation now, no doubt. Just the quiet confidence of two people who had chosen each other completely. Later that morning, as they walked the property together, a tall woman in a tailored suit intercepted them just outside the retreat's main hall. She extended her hand to Rainie Eliza Foster, head of editorial from a prominent luxury travel publication. "I came early," Eliza said. "Wanted to get a feel for the place without the team knowing." Rainie's pulse quickened. "And?" Eliza glanced around, taking in the lush landscaping and the attentive staff moving with quiet efficiency. "It's rare to find authenticity at this level. Most high-end resorts feel curated to the point of sterility. But this feels intentional without being forced. You built something remarkable." Grayson remained silent beside her, letting Rainie accept the compliment without interruption. "We'd love to feature it," Eliza continued. "Not just a review. A full spread, your story, the transformation, the people behind it." Rainie blinked. "You want to tell our story, people are craving connection," she replied. "The world's changing. What you've done here, it's more than luxury. It's love wrapped in design." After Eliza walked away, Rainie turned to Grayson, still absorbing what had just happened. "I didn't expect that," she said. "You never see your own magic," he replied, "but others do. That's why I knew this would work." As they approached the guest pavilion, a staff member stepped out with a clipboard and a hesitant expression. "There's a guest asking for you at the front gate," she said to Rainie. "She's not on the list, but she says she's your mother." Rainie froze. Grayson didn't speak, he just reached for her hand again. "She left when I was 5, Rainie said quietly. "I haven't heard a word from her since." "You don't have to see her if you don't want to." "I need to," she said, her voice steady. But alone. When Rainie reached the gate, a woman stood beyond it, her hands nervously folded in front of her. She wore a sun-faded blouse and jeans, her hair grayer than Rainie remembered from the single framed photo she'd kept hidden in a drawer all these years. "Hi," the woman said. Her voice was tentative. "You look just like your father." Rainie didn't respond immediately. She took in the woman's face, the way her eyes flicked downward, unsure, full of guilt but also something else, hope. "I don't know what you want," Rainie said. "I just wanted to see you. I've been following the news of this place for weeks. When I realized it was you, Rainie Collins, I had to come." "I don't need an apology," Rainie said. "I didn't come to give one," her mother said. "I came to ask if someday I could earn your forgiveness." Rainie breathed in the ocean air, the scent of lavender from the nearby planters, the sound of waves breaking on the rocks below. She wasn't a little girl anymore. She wasn't waiting for someone to make things right. "I don't know if I can forgive you today," she said, "but I'm not angry anymore." Her mother nodded, tears glistening. "That's more than I deserve." "I'll have someone show you around," Rainie added. "You came all this way. You should see what's here." She turned and walked back up the path, her spine straight, her heart light. She didn't look back. Later that night, Rainie stood at the rooftop garden wearing a midnight blue gown Grayson had delivered without a word. It wasn't flashy, just perfect. He joined her in a charcoal suit, no tie, just open collar and relaxed confidence. The guests had gathered for a twilight celebration of the retreat's first season. Lanterns glowed in the trees. Live cello music filled the air. Couples danced on the stone terrace while servers floated by with trays of champagne and citrus cakes. Grayson offered his hand. "Dance with me," he said. She took it without hesitation. They moved slowly, not needing rhythm or music to guide them. The stars blinked above them. The world felt just quiet enough. "I never thought I'd find this," Rainie whispered. "What? Peace, purpose." "You," he leaned in, his lips brushing her ear. "I've been waiting for you longer than I realized." They didn't need more words, not that night. As the music swelled, Grayson dipped his head and kissed her, not with urgency, but with the full weight of everything they'd built. A kiss that didn't ask for anything, because it already had everything. A year later, the Pacific Rise Retreat was listed in the top 5 wellness destinations in the world. Rainie's face graced the cover of several business magazines, always with a quiet pride in her eyes and Grayson by her side. The retreat expanded to include a coastal writer's sanctuary and a culinary garden program. Rainie led every new initiative with the same passion she'd once poured into answering phones. They lived in the villa above the cliffs, the same place where she first saw the ocean from his balcony. It was theirs now. Every window framed a memory. Every hallway echoed with laughter. On a warm spring morning, Rainie stood on the back patio, watching Grayson down in the garden, crouched beside a small girl with his same dark hair and her bright eyes. Their daughter giggled as he let her press seashells into the wet clay of a stepping stone. Rainie felt something settle deep inside her, a kind of contentment that didn't shout, it simply existed. Grayson looked up and caught her watching. He grinned and held up the tiny, palm-sized stone, now etched with their daughter's initials. Rainie stepped down to join them, crouching beside them in the sun. She kissed Grayson's cheek, then their daughter's forehead. They didn't need to speak. Everything they had was already here. And everything they built together.